Welcome once again here on the Regional Radio Sports Network. We're broadcasting, ironically, here today from the Elkhart Health and Aquatic Center for the Tony Natali Show. Great to have Tony here along with Sports Information Director Extraordinaire Luke Schrock. We're ready. Today is the day of the big NAIA press conference, which is going to introduce the 68th Swimming and Diving Championship here by the NAIA. It's certainly a different venue, certainly a different look, and hope we'll be able to capture some of that. But an exciting time. I know we'll talk about this event that's coming up, guys, particularly, but we always kind of talk about things starting from the get-go, about things going on campus. And let's start with swimming and diving, and let's talk about what a job that Deb Thompson and the swimming and diving team have done. Wins the first conference championships in school's history. Once again, a program that's still really in its infancy and having some success. So what a cool start for the swimming and diving team.
Well, for sure. You know, Deb has done a great job, and we tell all our coaches when they come in new, it takes a cycle. It takes 4 years to get your own kids in and to be able to develop them. And for her to be in her 5th year, she's got her small class out from last year from her first class, and to win the conference championship this year on the women's side and do a great job on the men's side. Great accomplishment for her. The KCAC is a stacked conference, so for her to win that this year on the women's side is quite an accomplishment.
Luke, I know that you've went through some of the championship winners and some of the student athletes that have excelled thus far in swimming and diving. Is there any guy or gal that just jumps off the page at you as saying, wow, we weren't expecting that to happen thus far?
Well, I mean, we have a multinational and KCAC champion in Nick Baum on the men's diving side. Owen Fleck will have be in the top when it comes to swimming or the diving portion of the men's side. There's a lot more men's divers this year, so there's a little bit more competition for Nick Baum and Owen Fleck coming into this championship. But Josefina Gonzalez on the women's side, the 1650 freestyler, she's done well in the past couple of years as well. Laha Gali is another one that comes off. Jalen Harrison is the other one off the top of my head. So there's a good handful on the women's side and on the men's side that's going to be performing well come March 5th through 8th.
Yeah, Deb's just done a really formidable job of just kind of navigating through this. And Tony, as we've seen with men's volleyball, which is underway there right now in number 2 spot in the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference, anytime you're getting a program starting from scratch, you know, one of the things I know that, you know, you did a tremendous job with men's and women's track and field, really kind of elevating that part of athletics at Bethel University to a whole nother level. But there's something special when you can come in and start from scratch, and a lot of credit goes out to the coaches who are willing to put in the time. Eric Snyder from a year ago, Jose Vieira now with men's volleyball, keeping some great things going on. And you as the AD, you've got to have a lot of faith, and you've got to continue to show a spiritual gift of encouragement to your coaches, because if you don't do that, it's really easy to get bogged down in the nuts and bolts of trying to compete, trying to recruit, trying to sell the vision of something special. I know you did that with track and field. Track and field became a national powerhouse because of, we're talking at Bethel back in the days where we didn't have any type of facility whatsoever. So to be able to sell that, to encourage your athletes, encourage your coaches, it's something special.
Yeah, you have to be able to have vision. You have to be able to have a great culture. And I'm a big believer in culture. I think that's where it starts, and I think you have to have that to begin with. And Deb has done a great job of that with her swim program. And when we talk about goals in our department, you know, the spiritual development, we always say being competitive. We don't ever talk about winning, because those are two different things. We want to be competitive, and we owe it to our student athletes to be competitive in everything we do. If we feel like if we have a great culture and maintain that competitiveness, the wins will take care of themselves. And that's happened with men's volleyball. That's happened in many areas. A great example, and even though it's not a new program, is our women's basketball program. Coach Scott Paulsgrove's done a great job, and it's taken him a few years to have that cycle we talk about in. But now we're at a point where, with one game left in the season, you know, he's got an opportunity to go on to postseason play, which they haven't done in many years. So that culture really stands out. Before we jump back to swimming and diving, this past week you announced, which I think is the most prestigious award on the Bethel campus, the Ron Paulson Award, and we need to certainly go through some of those dynamics. So, Luke, between you and Tony, let's
let's just talk about the impact of the Paulson Awards. I was really thrilled to see Abby Williams, who I tell you what, a young lady who had her season taken away from her because of an injury. She's been a tremendous teammate and encourager to her team. And I think one of the reasons that despite the fact that she has not played one game all season long, the fact that she stood by her teammates and encouraged and loved and helped in a wide variety of roles certainly makes her one of the most unique athletes on campus. When people go back and look at her bio, they're going to look at that senior season where there's nothing there, but there really was more there than anybody could really ask for in her leadership, guys.
Well, and I got the chance to talk to her when I found out the news, and I kind of found out through the grapevine of what happened, which ironically, my grad assistant Alexis and Carla were kind of training on stats, getting ready for the season, and I found out through them that they actually witnessed what had happened or had heard about themselves. And I talked to her, and there was the obvious tears in the eyes. I could tell how much it was really meaning to her that, I mean, she's prepared for a whole season and then it's taken away. And and my senior year at Cornerstone, I mean, I had a shoulder injury that took away the rest of my senior year. So, I mean, I could kind of relate in a sense. I mean, I wasn't a varsity guy by no means, but anyways, it's and I could see just the impact that she's having on the team and the continuous interaction she's having with the players, or the rest of her teammates, and trying to stay involved despite the fact of having that season taken away.
Tony, from the person who's at the top of the department, can you speak to what the Paulson Award is? Obviously, baseball and swimming were also involved in this. Kind of walk me through how the Paulson Award is selected each and every year.
Yeah, it is the most prestigious award that we have in the department because it represents not just athletic ability, but it represents character. It represents a lot of things that we talk about every day. So the coaches nominate their kids, and then at a staff meeting, we just go through and they talk about their nominee, and then they vote. And we simply just add up the tallies and go from there. But whenever we have that meeting, I tell you, I just stand there and listen to that, and I'm thinking, my goodness, we have such great student athletes in our department. And, it is such a testimony to what our coaches are doing with their kids, because those student athletes that are represented, all those nominations, it could be any of those kids. I mean, they're all very, very worthy. Jordan Lankren with baseball, Nick Baum with swimming. They won the men's side. They ended up in a tie, and those are two fantastic young men. And then, of course, Abby, who just handled that injury with such great grace and with composure, is amazing. So, yeah, they've done a great job of just nominating those kids. And like I said, we have so many good athletes in our program that are just great, high-quality kids, high-character kids, that it could be anybody.
Yeah, today's Tony Natali show number 6 on the season is here today from the Elkhart Health and Aquatic Center. We're anticipating the press conference of the NAIA 68 Swimming and Diving Championship. We'll get back to that sport. But, Tony, as we're just kind of giving our traditional show flyover, men's volleyball currently right now, number 2 in the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference, lost to 15th ranked Indiana Tech just most recently in a really tough match inside the Goodman Gymnasium. Men's basketball is guaranteed to finish number 2 in the Crossroads League, obviously the best league in the country. Their RPI rating was number 5 for the 5th toughest schedule in the country, and I think you already flew over the fact that some of the great things going on with women's basketball, but also softball, baseball getting underway. An exciting time with once again, we get into those seasons where all the seasons merge and overlap. I know it's driving Luke nuts. It always drives me nuts because we're in the midst of doing that with so many other opportunities. So just your thoughts on the rest of the success thus far.
Yeah, it's been so much fun this season. I mean, the teams have done very, very well. Men's basketball has just had an amazing year. You think about back in the preseason, we were picked 7th in the conference preseason, and for us to finish 2nd, I just talked to Coach Draben on my way over here, and the fact that we finished 2nd, what a great testimony. When you look at the big picture, I've coached for so many years, it's so easy to get caught in that one game. But if you look at the big picture, wow, we've done a great job. We have an opportunity to do well in the conference tournament coming up after our last regular season game, and we'll see where that takes us in the NAIA national tournament. So that's been really good. mentioned women's basketball, the opportunity to play in postseason play, hopefully, with opportunity to get a win on Saturday. So Coach Paulsgrove and his young ladies have done a great job as well. Softball got a big win yesterday over Trinity Christian. Natali Newell has done a really good job, and she's through that cycle as we talk about as well. So we're anticipating big things from her this year. They're very much improved. And baseball heads to Florida as of this morning. So they're heading to Florida, getting ready for mini contests down there where it's a lot nicer than the snow I'm looking at out the window as we're talking right now. So and then finally men's volleyball. Jose's done a great job with those kids. The biggest difference I see with that team is the camaraderie and the closeness of that team is significantly different than what it has been, and that's not an indication of anybody else. It's just the way it has worked out. But that group of kids they play for each other. They're very much supportive of each other, and the fact that they've had such a great start to their season, I think, is a testimony to that.
Yeah, I think they're the mirror image of the Bethel men's basketball team. They're always in a position where they're playing hard, and once again, a lot of no names, quote unquote, no superstars in the group, just a bunch of kids just going out and having some fun and doing some things. We do need to ask our Bethel University family for prayers for Andrew Dillon, member of the baseball team, who recently went under and had surgery, and we're certainly going to ask you to keep that family in prayers. And I know that's a difficult thing. It's got to be tough for Seth and Kyle, the coaches, Jimmy. All those guys are trying to keep the team on track, making sure they're able to do some things. But Tony, as you well know, over the many years, in a small school atmosphere like you have here, everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows everything that's going on in everybody's life. And now with social media, everybody knows it to the degree. And with all that being said, one of the things that we could do, the most important thing we can do, is pray for our athletes, pray for our coaches. I know that's the most important thing you can do. We always talk about supporting your school, you're getting involved in all the many things, but the most important thing you can do for the athletes, coaches, is to pray for them, and I know you would echo that.
Yeah, for sure. And Andrew's a great kid, and he's a fighter. He's a tough kid. So Seth and Kyle have done a great job of the support for that family, and we just ask for continued prayers. There's some good things, some challenges along the way, but we have the faith in the Lord that they'll be taken care of, and we'll just take one moment at a time.
Before we circle back now to what we're here today for here at the Elkhart Health and Aquatic Center. Luke, it's certainly, I want to take this moment in time. You've got a tremendous young group of people who are working with you in sports information. I get a chance to interact with them on a pretty consistent basis. The one thing that's been very, very evident that every time I'm in the gym or on the field or whatever the case may be, they have a tremendous servant's heart on what's going on, which I think is a direct reflection of you, because I think I've said this since the day you interned for me back in, I don't know, was it our 10th and 11th grade when you were at Concord High School? You have a tremendous servant's heart. So let's, at this point in time, before we talk about swimming and diving, talk about some of the guys and gals that are making your life a little easier, and that's a tough thing to do, being the sports information director over so many sports.
And that's saying it lightly, too. Bringing it on Alexis come the second semester has been tremendous. You said it perfectly with the servant's heart. She came in not really having too much of a background with sports information, and she's already stepped in and helped with the articles, with the setup for gyms, and just filling in wherever things are needed. And that's exactly how Jacob Imhoff was. When he graduated, it was going to be some big shoes to fill with him, and we made everything work in the fall as me and Carla Monterulli were navigating her schedule, and she's continuing to help out in the spring as well as she's preparing to become the GA for the next 2 years. And the combination of the two, and especially Carla with game days, and the combination of Alexis and Carla, Alexis is able to keep us on track during basketball, while Carla fills in with stats and stat calling and being able to take care of while basketball is playing and volleyball is playing later in the day. Carla and Alexis can go get things set up while we're finishing up basketball, and that, especially going into the baseball, softball, and lacrosse season, is going to become more and more important as we move into the spring season, and they'll be pivotal parts of the swim championship as well. So them, along with Sylvie Ferenczi, Josiah, and Tiago De Santos as well. Tiago has been incredible doing a lot of the photos with us,
he's awesome.
along with Mariah Claywell when she's not playing. And yeah, so they've been going to be pivotal parts for the
Megan Keeble's been awesome to
Megan
work with.
Keeble as well,
Been
yes.
awesome to work with too.
Yes.
She's going to be interning for me. I'm excited about having her intern for me here in the next year and a half. Hey, we're here for a special reason. At the 68th Swimming and Diving Championship, the press conference is going to be downstairs. But I want to go back to the beginning of bringing the championships here to Elkhart, Tony. I want you to talk about your vision for this, because this is not just something, hey, we want to hold that here. But there's a lot more going into this. So I'd like for you to take me back to your vision of saying, hey, listen, we want to be a part of this, and walk me through some of the things you had to go along the way. So right here in Michiana, you're going to be hosting the largest swimming and diving championship outside of the NCAA's in America.
Yeah, when this was being built, Pete McCowan, who's at the Elkhart Community Foundation, he called me and said, hey, you want to come and see a tour of this? And so I did. I drove out here and walked through this with him. This is while it was being built. Nobody was in here, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is a phenomenal facility. And I told Pete then, I said, there's going to come a day we're going to put a bid in to host here, because you can't tell me I'm not a swimming coach by any stretch, but I can't believe there's very many facilities like this. So once it got done, and once we were competing here, and I came to our swim competitions here over the past 5 years, Coach Deb and I spoke quite a bit, and it was like, Deb, we really need to put a bid in, and we'll see what happens. You never know if you're going to get one of those or not. But I think what really sealed the deal is when Austin Bennett from the NAIA came for a site visit. And I remember that day really well. Deb and was involved in that quite a bit. He came out, he took the tour of the place and everything, and then we met for lunch. And even though he couldn't commit then, I could tell after that lunch was done, we had a really good shot at hosting it. And wasn't much later after that we got the official word we were going to host. So there's a lot that goes into it. I was telling Luke this morning, we've been in meetings for over a year with this, and I feel like we've talked about it and met about it, and we have such great support, not just from the folks Luke talked about, but from the Elkhart Community Foundation, the Visitor Bureau out here, from other people, Lippert Components, other people who are really helping us out. But it's time. It's time to get this thing rolling. We've talked about it so much that the talking stages are about done, and we're ready to get this thing into action. So it's going to be fun to see everything that we planned and everything we talked about, see it come to fruition. I was telling the folks at our meeting the other day, it reminds me of my daughter's weddings, where there's a lot of planning goes into it, but there's going to be problems. There's going to be things that come up. So you just got to be prepared and ready to roll with it and be able to handle it.
Luke, I know you know this very, very well. When I started our Gritty's banquet at the Colts complex, 19 years ago, we worked for 3 months on this program. For 3.5 hours. People don't understand the work that goes involved in putting a program together, and it all comes down to quote unquote game day or showtime. And it's a really, really, and it's no different than making a movie, or as the details. Someone like Andrew Kirksey, he takes the raw footage, or Tanner, what he's doing. They take the raw footage, but what you see, you don't see all the setup and all the stuff that goes on during the backstory of these things. And this is going to be a mammoth undertaking. So have you given any thought to quote unquote meet day management? Because it's not just going to be a one-day event. This is going to go from March 5th through the 8th. So this is going to be basically you're going to be living in Elkhart for basically 4 weeks. So give us an idea on how set up. Have you got in your own mind's eye on how this is going to go?
Well, my department specifically is handling the photography of things. So we are going to have a 4-man crew of photographers through each and every session, including myself. So as it stands right now, me, Mark Ridley from Valparaiso, who does a lot of their photography, he'll be joining our staff for that time. Josiah Young is going to be another one, and then Tiago De Santos is going to be another, while Alexis and Carla are going to be handling everything that's not swimming during those days, which we'll have plenty. So in the sense of everything else, my good buddy and former broadcast partner Nate Wengler is back for the PA portion of things. It's going to run a lot like the KCAC Championship when we hosted it here last year. So I fully trust him with everything, and he's got a great support staff of people up at the table. So those are really the only things that I'm going to be handling outside of just looking over recaps with the NAI and Tommy Chazanoff that's going to be here from the University of the Cumberlands to help out on the NAI side, and Fred Avishon, who's going to be helping oversee the rest of everything, along with Tony and Janice Logston of I believe it's the Community Foundation, if I'm not mistaken. So in the sense of running the show, there's going to be a lot of different people doing a lot of different moving parts.
So the NAIA, Tony, will bring their own entire organization here to Elkhart for probably the 4th through the 9th, I'm guessing, when it's all said and done. Have you sat down with them and talked about how they're going to be able to handle things and logistically? And I'm sure this is going to be videotaped. They're going to have the live stream on the NAIA site. So there's a lot of moving parts there. Can you speak to some of those moving parts?
Yeah, we've met. Every month, and now here lately, we've met every 2 weeks. So they're very involved. Freddie, Luke mentioned Fred Abishon. Fred is the connection with the NAI for this event. He'll be here the whole time, and he's really the top of the chain when it comes to that. But he's done a really good job of delegating and just being very clear on what needs to be done. So we all kind of know our roles and what happens with that. And I think everybody's been really good to be able to help. There's no way this kind of an event can happen without Luke and his staff. But I'm telling you, the Elkhart Community Foundation and the Visitor Bureau, can't even imagine how this could happen without them, because they are supplying so many volunteers and they're doing a lot of the organization of it all. So they have been just amazing. So a lot of what I've done has just been the financial end of making sure that because there's a lot of expenses that go into hosting, making sure we have that all covered. And we've been tremendously blessed with donors and supporters to get that taken care of.
Now, will people be able to come and watch this thing in person? Is there going to be an opportunity? Can you speak to some of those dynamics?
Yeah, there'll be ticket sales and there'll be those kind of things. Luke, go ahead. You could probably speak to that a little bit better.
Yeah, so there's day passes and event passes from what I can remember off the top of my head. The streaming is completely free through the NAI through their new model of their championship streaming. And that can be found at NAI.org or even through our website at bupilots.com on the swim and dive schedule for the men's or the women's. So it's very accessible. But yes, it's definitely encouraged to be here, especially those that are coming from the local area or who are traveling with their teams and supporting their teams. So there's definitely opportunities for tickets that are live right now. You can find it on Bethel's website or the NAI website and our Bethel's social media pages as well. We're going to be making sure that link is very accessible to people throughout the next 2-3 weeks, however many weeks it is until we're leading up to the championship. So, there's definitely tickets to be able to see this event in person and be able to come to this amazing facility.
Do we know how many athletes, coaches, and teams will be in attendance for the 68th annual event?
So
340 athletes. Yes. I know that for sure. The rest of it, Tony, you may have more.
Yeah, it's a lot like track when I coach track. There's a lot of teams that come, but some teams have 1-2 people. Other teams will have multiple people. So it's a little bit hard to tell from the team perspective. But when you look at the number of athletes, like Luke said, you're looking between 300 and 400 athletes. That's a lot of kids. When you think about a team sport where like a basketball is, where you bring teams in, you're looking at a lot of people coming into the Elkhart community, whether it means hotel space or restaurants or whatever it might be. So it's going to be really good for the community as well.
So the big question I have for you, Luke, if the men's and women's basketball teams have an incredible postseason run, how are you going to be able to navigate doing all the basketball stuff as well as over here at the Aquatic Center?
Alexis and Carla.
Okay.
2 words.
All right.
That's the only way it's going to be able to happen because, for me, I have to have some sort of a presence here. And, I have a background in videography and photography, so that's something that I have stressed to Fred that, hey, I will be here, and I've already made a major commitment to be at this championship and making sure things run and we get as best coverage as we can. So, I fully trust Alexis and Carla to be able to handle things along with Bernat Cole, who does a lot of our other statting as well. So, I will schedule things out and make sure that a plan is in place, but the execution of that plan will definitely fall in the hands of Alexis and Carla.
Once again, one final thought. I know that, Tony, we mentioned this right before we started the taping of this program, is that the Bethel Pilots camps are available if people would like to sign up. And once again, those are all limited in regards to space and time. So Can you speak to what Andrea has in line for Bethel camps this coming summer?
For sure. My wife, Andrea, does the camp situation. She's the camp director, so she's very available. She's getting emails and calls all the time right now already. We went live with the link everywhere the beginning of February, so it's picking up already. I think people are ready for summer, they're ready for nice weather, ready to get people outside and do some things. So all of our camps are starting to pick up, but you make a great point. The last several years, the last several summers, we've really filled up quick. So the sooner we can get people to register, the better off in that situation.
Well, that's going to do it here from our broadcast location. Once again, very unique where we're at here today in Elkhart at the Health and Aquatic Center. The 68th Swimming and Diving Championships is going to be here from March 5th through 8th. Of course, this show will be up on the Regional Radio Sports website. We'll have all the social media. Andrew Kirksey will be working diligently to get that up in a timely manner. But once again, thanks to everyone here at the Elkhart Health and Aquatic Center. Thanks again to Alexis as well as Luke and everybody here in Sports Information who's just done a tremendous job on what we're doing. Thanks again to Tanner Camp, Andrew Kirksey for their production work here today. For Coach Natali and yours truly, Paul County, thanks again for joining us here for the 6th edition of the Tony Natali Show on the Regional Radio Sports Network.